Hi, Yahweh Zeros. Guess who I have today? Papa! He's fixing his glasses right now.
Sorry.
There he is.
How's it going, everybody?
Today, Papa and I, in our Bible study, we were reading 1 Peter, and particularly chapter 3, and we were really liking the part about, well, let Papa take it over. So, Papa, verse 8.
All right, so Paul's been giving us direction, godly direction for our lives, and he talked to slaves, he talked to wives, and he talked to husbands. But then in verse 8, he says, finally, all of you have unity of mind, sympathy, brotherly love, a tender heart, and a humble mind. So I want to talk about each one of these and give examples for the children.
And
for
the big
arrows,
people.
And the big people.
If you just happen to be listening.
So, unity of mind. Paul writes, live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the Lord. Never be wise in your own sight. So this would be, unity of mind would be if you're playing a game in the living room and you've got all the furniture rearranged and turned over and put sheets and blankets over. I've seen forts in you guys' houses, and you make a little cubby hole for everybody, and it's just fun to play, but after a couple hours of that, it's time to put it all back. So at that point, the right thing to do is to work together to clean it up. Sometimes you might have somebody that one brother or sister wants, okay, let's time to pick this up. That's the brother that's older usually, might not be. And so the right thing to do is everybody have unity of mind and pick it up together.
Right.
And if you don't, somebody says, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't feel like it. Whatever that looks like, that's being selfish.
It's true, yeah. Like for instance, if you have unity, that means together as a team. So your family is a unit, your unity. And your goal is to, well, as Christians, as followers of the Lord, our goal is to love the Lord our God with our heart, our soul, our mind, and our neighbor as ourself. So there's our neighbor over there cleaning up all the stuff, and there's the other one, arms folded. I'm not helping. I don't want to. Oh my. What would the Lord say? Oh my, that's not unity. Instead, the young one can say, you know what? Or the one that's not helping, I'm going to change my attitude. I'm going to do what the Lord says, and I'm going to be kind, and I'm going to have unity, and I'm going to be part of our family and cooperate.
Excellent. All right, next one is have sympathy. In Romans, Paul says, rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. If one member suffers one member of the body, one member of the family suffers, all suffer together. If one member of the family is honored, all rejoice together. So we had a couple examples in our home group. We had one little girl had a broken wrist, and she came in with a cast on. And then another time before that, when had another little girl had appendicitis and had to get her operation. So you want to?
Oh right. When I saw Jerusha, I had compassion. No, I had sympathy. In my heart, I was sad. Oh, sweetie. And I went and hugged her. I was sorry. And when Lydia, she had her surgery, I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I hugged her. Of course, we took little gifts and stuff to help them feel better. So that was really fun. But I showed sympathy. And sometimes I've seen even children, they have something bad that happens in their life. Like for instance, let's say your sibling gets in trouble. Oh my, sibling. Mom or dad has to say, oh my. Okay, that's not acceptable. That's not helpful. You go in your room. So there's brother or sister in their room, mad, probably grumpy, bad attitude. But at any rate, and so there you are. You can have sympathy, and you can say, even though they're bad in there and they're having a hard time, you don't have to go over there and say, ha ha, you're dumb, eh. Instead, you can say, darn it, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to have that situation. And you know what? You could just be like this crazy cool person and pray Dear Lord, please help my sibling to do a better job. Please help their heart to change so that they will please you, and help their heart to be soft and kind. And so you could do things like that. Sympathy.
Okay, next one, have brotherly love. Paul says in Thessalonians, concerning brotherly love, you have no need for anyone to write to you, for you yourselves have been taught by God to love one another. And in fact, you do love all the brothers throughout Macedonia. Yet we urge you, brothers, to do more and more. And in Hebrews, the Hebrew writer says, let brotherly love continue. So here these guys in Thessalonica, they're known for their brotherly love all across southern Greece, I think that is, Macedonia, from town to town, city to city. And what does Paul say? Do more. So we're supposed to have brotherly love in abundance. And so we're supposed to be able to have brotherly love, much of which would be like if one sibling's in the room suffering because they've just been assigned their room for the next 5 weeks because they did something wrong, then brotherly love would be to, Mom, could I go in there and play with that sibling because he's lonely in there? And so you're going to have brotherly love that way.
After days of being in there, right. Of course, that makes me want to sing, love one another, for God is of love. Do you remember that song? And then another one was brotherly love, and it can be sisterly love, brother and sisterly love. And that means love hopes all things, bears all things. Hold on, I wrote it down. It's really good. So when you have your little life and you're trying to figure out what in the world you're supposed to be doing, it's right there where I wrote it okay. Love is patient. Brotherly love is patient. It's kind. It does not envy, and it's not rude. And it does not insist on its own way. It's not irritable or resentful. I want what I want. It rejoices in the truth. Yay! So love bears all things. Even when your brother or sister or family member is grumpy with you, you return goodness for their grumpiness. And they believe, because you believe, that our good God is not done helping them grow up yet. And He's going to help them to become mature and to become kind. And you can believe that. Because then we can hope, because the Lord gives us this hope. And then because He strengthens us, we can endure even the difficult things. And so that is brotherly love.
All right, so next one is to have a tender heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some of us have more tender hearts than others, but Colossians says, put on compassionate hearts. So having a tender heart means having compassion. And we looked up compassion, means to have compassion from a Latin word, means to have pity or to suffer with. So when one brother or sister is picking up the game all by himself, he may be suffering. Why do I have to be the one to pick up this game? Nobody's helping me. Woe is me. I don't like this. Then another brother or sister would show compassion and help them pick it up. Thus they were suffering with. They were, at least they could do it together. They're doing it together and they're both suffering because they're the only two that have to pick up the game. But that's what the word compassion means, and that's what having a tender heart means.
Mm-hmm.
Tender
that's
heart
awesome.
might also be if one brother or sister has a pet frog. This is way out there. Has a pet frog, and the pet frog died. And he was the only one in the whole family that really liked that, really loved that pet frog. But the pet frog died, so some of the other members, some of the other brothers or sisters might have compassion and suffer with them and say, oh, your poor frog, you like that frog a lot. I'm sorry that that pet frog died, and things like that. And the brother or sister would be having a tender heart.
Mm-hmm. Papa did it for me when we got Joy. Papa's like, a dog.
Another dog.
And I'm like, yeah, I need a dog. I do. Papa's like, And so I went to the shelter one day. I'd been looking online a lot. Finally went to a shelter, saw one, and it turned out to be Joy. And so I called Papa, and so I was trying to get hold of him on the phone and tell him and show him a video of her and all this kind of stuff. And it was a puppy, and the puppies go really fast at the shelter. And so I didn't get hold of him. And so I just made the decision. And so Papa had compassion on me. He was tender-hearted because he knew it meant so much to me. He let me have my way. And then on top of that, we had this hyper puppy, and Papa was patient and kind. And then I went to London for 2 or 3 weeks and left him having to do all the work with this puppy that he never asked for. So that is tender-hearted. He was very kind.
Okay, and the last one, having a humble mind. Jesus, who though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. And being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Pastor said, we can't be any more humble than that. So, being humble, God, who knows all things, omniscient, omnipresent, knows all things, does all things, creates all across the entire expanse of time, that we can't even figure that out. So here he gave his son, made in the likeness of human form, likeness of man. He was obedient. He did what God said, even though God said, Jesus, you have to die on the cross. So he died, and then dying on the cross is like a curse in those times. So he not only did he die, but he died with a curse on him. So that's like, and he did it for who? All of us. All of us, in spite of ourselves. He did it for every man and woman on the earth, all across this span of time. Mm-hmm. That's huge. So it tells us to have a humble mind. So what are some of the things that we could be humble about, dear?
Well, one thing that humble is it's not all about me. It's not all about my turn, my rights. This is mine, me. No, that's not humble. Humble is considering others. It's like, gosh, I'm so glad I have this, but what about my brother or sister? Or I bet I could help them, or I wonder if they would like me to read a book to them, or I wonder if I can be patient instead of frustrated, and things like that. That's called humble. And we just realize that we're just regular folks. Each one of us, just regular folks. None of us are so cool or so important. We're just regular folks, and we can be humble and put others in front of ourselves. We're all working on it. Just keep working every single day. It's a goal.
That's exactly right. Being a humble mind, we're not all that. We're not the oldest, we're not the youngest, we're not the biggest, we're not the one that needs the most help, we're not.
Tell them what you said all the time about there's always someone smarter, that story.
Kimberly, you remember, and Aaron both, I always told you that throughout life here, there's always going to be somebody that's bigger than you, taller than you, smarter than you,
prettier than you,
has more hair than you. Always. So there's you just put you right in your place. You're right in there with everybody else, and you got to remember that and be humble, because you're not all that.
Just folks.
Okay.
All right. I have one last thing. Okay.
Go for it.
And so today, when you go about your day today, I hope that you will remember that you are a family, mm-hmm. and your goal as a family is to love the Lord your God, mm-hmm. with all your heart, with all your mind, Amen. With all your soul, and your neighbor as yourself, and to forgive your neighbor when your neighbor isn't perfect, isn't so nice to you, and to love anyway, because
you'll love them.
Yep, because God loves us. I love you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you listening.
Love you. Bye.
Till later. Bye.